Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Kerrville Weekly News Roundup, hosted by the Texas Hill Country Podcast Network. We are the co-founders and your hosts for today's show. Andrew Gay, Tom Fox, Gilbert is all in the studio here with me. And Tom, why don't you do the honors as usual and kick us off with your top news picks for the week?
So for those watching, I'm going to show you this picture of the the Guadalupe River Center that has been proposed, and foundation is seeking donors to bring it to life. They want to raise $10 million to put a sailing facility on the Guadalupe in Kerrville. Yes, you heard that right, a sailing facility. Who needs a sailing facility? That part is unclear, but the sponsors or the foundation board chair, John Anderson, grew up sailing in Wisconsin and thinks that would be good for us folks here in Kerrville. I don't know if he has considered the drought or whether there's enough water in the river to sail. I have sailed in the ocean. I've sailed in the Gulf of Mexico. I've sailed on lakes, and it never struck me that the hill country was really adapted to sailing. So there you go.
The song references are flooding my mind.
Yeah.
And it's safe to say you're probably not going to contribute to the construction of that facility.
I'm not. Second story came actually out today, courtesy of our good friend Louis Amstoy at the Lead, that Harley Belew is disqualified from Commissioner's Court because the court found he indeed had a felony conviction against him, and in spite of his protestations that it wasn't a felony conviction. So he is now disqualified. The trial court's, the county judge, Rob Moore, has said he is not going to replace Belew until an appeals court or the Texas Supreme Court issues a final ruling. And the trial court said he really needed some guidance from the appeals courts on this, because this type of case is apparently not relatively rare, but extraordinarily rare in Texas. And indeed, there was no case law for him to interpret. There was only the statute itself. So ruling by the court today, Harley Belew is out, subject to an appeal. That will probably take 12 to 18 months at the Court of Appeals. And then if that's a mandatory appeal, or at least a direct appeal, and then discretionary appeal to the Texas Supreme Court. So that's what I got.
Thanks, Tom. Gilbert, over to you, sir.
Yes, well, I've got a few stories for us today. The first one I want to talk about, in case you haven't noticed, the City Council was given an update this week about the new public safety complex that's being built over on Clearwater Paseo Drive and Rio Monte Drive. It's going to be a $45 million facility. It's going to house the police department, the fire department, emergency operations center, and police dispatch. That's been in the works for a couple of years now, and they're finally going to be able to break ground, hopefully in December, and then finish construction by spring of 2025. And there was an artist rendering that was released along with the update on this to the City Council the other day, and it's a really snazzy looking building. It's beautiful. It's going to be updated and current, and it's going to have enough room for those departments to grow and expand a little bit. And then, of course, they unfortunately, because they have a really strict budget to work with, they had to trim about $1.5 million of wants that they had to make sure that they fell within budget. But I think overall it's going to improve not only the public safety for the city of Kerrville, but it's going to house also the emergency operations. And the IT departments too for the city. And those things are obviously things that the city of Kerrville can't do without. So
Know some of those folks there, so shout out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course anything that you and me as city taxpayers have to contribute to, well, we should be kept up to date on what's going on there and make sure that there's no cost overruns, because we all know that city and county projects can occasionally have humongous cost overruns, and that just means it costs you and me as taxpayers more money. The other story I wanted to talk about today, in case you hadn't been following it, a couple of weeks ago, our wonderful, illustrious Attorney General Ken Paxton was found not guilty in his trial when he was impeached by the House of Representatives. And in case you weren't aware, the lead prosecutor in that deal was our local state representative, Andrew Muir. There's been some rumblings and rumors about him getting on the wrong side of some of the far right Republicans who heavily supported Ken Paxton. And there may be some stories coming out here soon about people that are going to be choosing to run against him. And of course, if you don't know what was the deal was with Ken Paxton, he was being accused of taking bribes and doing some other illegal things to not only hide an affair that he was having, but also to help one of his friends in exchange for campaign contributions and other gifts that were under the table. So that's a whole other story for a different day. We won't go into that, but the main focus of my story was the fact that our local representative, Andy Muir, could be getting some challenges on the re-election campaign. So be on the lookout for that, because, of course, our representative at the state level, it impacts the things that can happen here, and not only locally, but of course on the statewide level too. So important things to keep in mind. And my last story that I'll give, in case you haven't been paying attention, over on Main Street and Clay Street, there's a new bank coming to town. There's a big sign out front. It's Texas Regional Bank will be opening up pretty soon. They're doing a lot of repairs and I think some remodeling to the building. It's right where the old Bank of America used to be, right next to Jimmy John's, Daily Donuts, right across the street from another bank, Sunflower Bank.
Next to Pop Hair Art.
Yeah, there you go. And a little bird told me the other day, this is a rumor, so it's not confirmed yet, but a little bird told me the other day that there's another bank coming to town, that they're going to be building a location right across the street, catty corner to the Sunflower Bank. Frost Bank will potentially be coming to town. The rumor is that they purchased the Entertain Mart facility and complex, and that they will be building a new branch right there in the parking lot of Entertain Mart, or in that same area. Apparently, Entertain Mart's not going to be closing. It's just that they're going to take some of the parking lot and build a branch right there. So whether or not that rumor's true,
where the Jesus Saves people going to go?
I can only imagine as a child, instead of going to Hastings or Entertain Mart on a Friday night to check out my, latest CD or poster, right, to put on my wall, I just go to Frost Bank.
Cindy Funder, Johnny Manziel turned out the way. No, let's go to the bank on Friday night.
Yeah. Could be. But
like you got teenagers.
Yes, I do, and I don't let my kids hang outside after 9 o'clock, so they have to come inside.
At least not at banks.
I was going to say, I have a sneaking suspicion you might be okay with your kids hanging out at a bank on a Friday night. There's worse places to be.
Sure.
So just what we need.
Like I said, not it's just a rumor, hasn't been confirmed, but look for more details and stories about that coming up, because of course, the one thing that Kerrville needs more than anything else is another bank.
Another bank. 2 more.
Yes.
Thank you, Gilbert. For myself here, I just got one good mention for us. So the city council just voted this past week to pass a tax rate, an updated tax rate for the city, and it was they shot the gap essentially. So the existing tax rate was, and this is they quote these in cents per $100. So 0.4064 of a dollar. So for like 41 cents on $100 was the original tax rate, and what the city council voted for was to increase that rate to about almost 56 cents per $100 of taxable value. And that was lower than the 56.16 cents per $100 that would have required voter approval. So they were able to skirt around that, but that does look like it would increase the city's tax revenue, property tax revenue, by about 6.8%, almost $1 million. So good or bad or indifferent, they needed to pass that. I think there was some budget stuff that went through with that too in their same meeting. So that was a big meeting for our city council this past Tuesday. And with that will wrap up, I think, our top news picks for the week. Any final words about anything you guys are doing this weekend before we get out of here?
So I'm going to watch Andrew, who's going to be at Memorial Stadium watching UT
right.
thump whoever we're playing this week.
That's right. I'm super excited for that. My wife and I are going to the UT game. So
I'm going to be expecting you to hold up a sign that says, "Guys, it's me," so we can see you on the TV station.
I just want to know, when you put up your Texas Hill Country Advisor sign? Do you have to have the disclaimer on the front, or can you put it on the back?
That's a great idea, Tom. Disclaimer. Don't forget the disclaimer.
That's great.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay, guys, that will do it for us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, interact with us, share our content. We're on once a week, at least, doing the news here. Check out our podcast, check out our website. All of our podcasts are listed on our website with the appropriate links there to Spotify, iTunes, so on and so forth. Thanks again. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll catch you next week.
So